Welcome back to another episode of the Inquisitive Mamba Podcast. This is episode 127. I hope everyone is having a great day, great night, wherever you are around the world. It's a pleasure to record for you guys again. A lot to get into on tonight's show. I actually have a guest joining me, Jake Murphy. Jake and I actually met in downtown Annapolis. We bumped into each other. We were both wearing Gators gear. It was actually the first game of the season. The Gators, actually, it was the weekend. It was the LSU USC weekend. That's the weekend that it was. And we were just yapping away about, you told me you were a Lions fan. We talked about the Gators, if they're going to keep Billy Napier or not, the Graham Mertz saga. Are we going to see DJ Lagway? So it's a pleasure to have you on the show. We finally got you on the show.
Glad to be here.
And I'm happy to see, I can see some Capitals gear in the background. We'll get into some Capitals stuff. We're both Capitals fans. You're more of a diehard Caps fan than I am. So
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Thanks for having me, man.
Let's do it. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to get into the NFL, I guess, right off the bat. Let's talk about your Lions, though. They won. They beat the Jaguars 52-6. You have been texting me kind of, this week and just all throughout this NFL season, and I knew the Lions were going to be good. I didn't think they were going to be this good.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Lions have really taken form. And they've just become that dominant team. Last year they lost in the NFC Championship. They blew that lead, really sucked. The mentality in the locker room, around the team from the outsider perspective was, everything's going to change. They have one mission and goal, and that's a Super Bowl. And this year you saw, they started off kind of rough, started off kind of slow, like most teams did, against the Rams, that overtime win, that was awesome. And then we lost to the Bucs by 5. So it's like Dan Campbell had that coaching error. You never know. Stuff's going to go wrong every game. But it was like him not calling that timeout, them not kicking that field goal, going down. I mean, that's right there. They had 2 drives in the fourth quarter under like 5 minutes where they could have scored a touchdown. All they needed is a field goal there in that situation, down by 2.
Yep.
It makes things easier. But dude, the Lions are balling. I think 2 of the best safeties in the league with Kirby Joseph and then Brian Branch. Brian Branch is a hitter. You saw him get kicked out of the Packers game for that one
Packers
shot.
game that Bo Milton hit. Yep.
Yeah, which was kind of questionable. I think the NFL has just been really all over the place this year. So it's like, how can you, eject a guy when, it wasn't an egregious hit. He wasn't going out there head hunting. But, it was a head-to-head hit, so I get it. But, dude, Jared Goff, other than the Texans game 2 weeks ago, he's been playing awesome. His numbers are awesome. I was chanting Jared Goff MVP, which now it's kind of harder to make that case. But dude, I mean, Jameson Williams has been playing awesome. Can't forget our running backs, Ja and David Montgomery. Dude, they've been playing phenomenal. I love the Sonic and Knuckles. I love that nickname they've gotten, man. It's pretty sweet. But being a Lions fan right now is really awesome. I'm loving it every week. It's like we're blowing out teams left and right. So like they are the top team to beat. I don't care what anyone's got to say. The Lions are the number 1 team. Chiefs are getting the easy calls, late game, they don't look as good, man. So it's like,
I know,
even that crappy field goal, dude. It's like, how do you not beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead? You have one job, hold the line, make the kick, get a good hold, good snap. Didn't work out, but the Lions are booming. How do you feel about the Lions?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you asked me that. I honestly think, I'm a type of person where this is a weird take that I have. I can't say the Lions are the best team in the NFL because I still go off of last year. Until the defending champions are beaten, until they're dethroned, then that's when I can say, okay, until the Chiefs lose, like in the playoffs, I get it's a whole new year, but they still haven't been dethroned. It's like right now, I guess it's weird because it's a weird analogy because in college football, like if you say Michigan's the best team in college football, obviously they're not. But like in the NFL, I feel like this space, especially because you've had the Bills, you've had the Chiefs, you've had the Lions, you've had the Ravens. So I think the Lions are playing the best football right now in the NFL, like as a complete team, what they've seen.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Texans kind of blunder, but they came out a total different team in the second half compared to the first half. So I would say they're right there with the Chiefs. But the thing too is on a 1-game set, would you rather have Jared Goff or would you rather have Patrick Mahomes?
I mean, that's the thing. And being a Lions fan, I'm going to say Jared Goff, and that's very biased. I get it. But I think, but the reason behind that is you brought up the Texans the Texans win, which they played terrible. But you know what? That defense was lights out in the second half. If you have a quarterback, Pat Mahomes could go out there and throw 5 interceptions, and I guarantee you the Chiefs aren't winning. They're struggling against teams. That's the thing. And I hear the top dog statement. It's very fair, great point. But at the same time, most teams in the NFL, I think, besides legitimately Lions, just because they did it. And in any other situation, I'd be like, no way, you throw 5 picks. right there, you're
Yeah.
not winning that game. There's no shot. And so I think that's been the best Lions game that I've seen, and just the best Lions
Yeah.
game all season. The blowouts are nice, and it's like really awesome to watch them run trick plays and, try to throw to offensive linemen and score touchdowns against the Cowboys. So it's like,
Dan
that's
Skipper.
cool. Dan Skipper,
Yeah.
Dan Skipper, he's eligible.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, like having a win like that is why I think the Lions are the best team, just because it shows like when
Yeah.
your defense you need your defense and they need to be lights out, they're lights out. When you need to kind of pick up on a bad game, rough start, and you have a quarterback that can, fishbowl, he's already past it, let's move forward and carry the team to win like that. I mean, that's the reason why I think the Lions just kind of blow out the Chiefs in that regard. But I hear your point. I mean, I just think kind of the refs are always on their side. We know that. We both know that right here. The refs are always on their side, and everyone knows that. But the Lions aren't necessarily getting those calls, and they're still winning games. And so that's why I just think, I mean, if it was a one-on-one matchup, I think the Lions are going to pull it out. But that's biased, I know. But
yeah, but it's okay because the Lions have played complete football mostly this entire season, other than the Texans game. But I want to go back to the Chiefs here for a second, and we'll talk about the Chiefs and the Bills. But I think how to beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL is, one, you got to play situational football. You cannot make mistakes against the Kansas City Chiefs. Absolutely. You can't turn the ball over. I know it's X's and O's, Jimmys and Joes, and everyone understands that. But just the Chiefs played such good situational football. And how to beat the Chiefs is you got to have Patrick Mahomes on the bench, just like the Bills did. You've got to put the ball in the best player, how the Bills feel with Doug McDermott and Josh Allen. They think he's the best player in the NFL, which you can make a case for that as well. I think Josh Allen is the MVP of the season. I know a lot of people have said Lamar Jackson, but in my opinion, I think Josh Allen has played lights out football. Obviously, the game against the Ravens back earlier in the season on Sunday Night Football when they laid an egg, that was earlier in the season. I totally get it. The Ravens were kind of clicking at that time. However, the way to beat the Chiefs is you've got to have Mahomes on the sideline. You got to be aggressive, just like the Bills did. If they would have kicked that ball instead of going for it, they probably would have lost the game. So you can't sit there and say, oh, should they have kicked it? So that's how you got to beat the Chiefs. You can't turn the ball over. You got to get Mahomes kind of flustered. Mahomes is so good under pressure. He's so good outside the pocket. And you just have to play. You cannot make any mistakes. You can't turn the ball over. So I think that's the way to beat the Chiefs. And you have to beat them at their own game. They love putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. If you've seen in recent years, they love putting pressure on the quarterbacks with their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo. He loves sending those like disguise type blitzes. He may send an extra backer off the edge. He may pull the linebacker around the side. They may do a stunt blitz. They may, blitz through the gap, but that's how the Kansas City Chiefs have been so successful, obviously with Mahomes, but they can put pressure on the opposing quarterback. If you can do that to the Chiefs and you can get them off their game and you can start getting them flustered, you can beat them. And they've looked vulnerable at times this year.
I agree. And then even you think about Pacheco going down, a lot of people are like, oh no, how are they going to play without Pacheco? Travis Kelce doesn't have a big year. He hasn't had a big year at all. He's kind of, you don't even realize him, besides seeing Taylor Swift on the screen. And then
it's not the Taylor Swift effect. He's older.
But yeah, he is. And you're starting to see that kind of wear and tear and him just not playing his best ball. But it's like you've been even saying is Patrick Mahomes, you can't give that guy the ball when it comes down to it. You can't. When the game's on the line, you can't get Pat Mahomes the ball. And just like you said, I mean, being able to get pressure and keeping him off the field, you're going to get a couple mistake drives, every game you're going to get one. And the Chiefs have shown that other teams are getting that out of the Chiefs, and you have to capitalize on those drives. Like if 3 and out, or you stop them, whatever, they don't kick a field goal, they punt the ball to you, take advantage of that. That's like, you need to go for the jugular and just end them. And Josh Allen, absolutely. I mean, without going for it, they potentially do lose that game. And it's like Josh Allen, I agree, is the best quarterback. And I think he should be MVP. He's just shown consistency throughout the season. He's an absolute dog, an absolute beast. But I mean, it's the Bills were a good enough team to where even maybe if they go for it, they still pull it out. But a lot of teams kind of on that cusp, they don't have that luxury of having a Josh Allen or, a Lamar Jackson to kind of bail them out if they do end up, going down or having a chance to score to win the game or tie the game. So yeah, the Chiefs are serious, and I'm not discrediting the Chiefs when I was talking about the Lions.
No, absolutely not. No.
You have to kind of see the resume, and I mean, I don't look at the Chiefs and say anything's impressive besides 15 back there, in all honesty, in that defense. But it's like nothing really stands out.
Yep, their defense has been spectacular. But the thing about the Kansas City Chiefs too is everyone knows they're going to be there at the end of the season. And what really would have made it interesting is I know shoulda, woulda, coulda at this point. They realistically should have lost to the Denver Broncos. New Heights, Travis Kelce on the podcast, he goes, I was prepared to lose that game on the sideline. There was really no hope, right? You've got to hope for a block. You got to sit there and close your eyes and go, I hope for a block, or I hope somebody does this, or I hope the snap goes wild. And of course, that situation happened for the Chiefs, but they've shown they can be beat. They've been in these really close games, and but they've had that championship DNA, all season, minus the Broncos game. So yeah, I mean the Chiefs are going to be there right to the end. The Bills are going to be right there in the AFC. The Ravens as well. I like the Chargers. I really like their smash mouth style of play of football with Jim Harbaugh, the meat and potatoes. They've built that offensive line. They've got Herbert comfortable. They don't have the skill positions on the receiver end. They don't. I mean, Ladd McConkey's been a really good rookie out of Georgia, but they don't really have any barn burners on the outside. So, but they've been a fun team to watch. But Josh Allen, yeah, like you said, I think he is the MVP of the NFL, and he's been fun to watch. And I will sit here and say if I'm wrong on a take or I'm wrong on a sports opinion, I'll sit here and own up to it. I did not expect the Buffalo Bills to be 8-2 at this point. I don't think anybody did. I mean, everyone's like, oh, they lost Jordan Poyer, they lost Stephon Diggs, they seem like they're going to regress. Josh Allen is getting older. The pressure's on Doug McDermott. All this stuff in the offseason. Von Miller's coming back. Is Von Miller going to be the player that he once was because he tore his ACL? Yep. So it's like these things were adding up for the Bills, and you're like, there's no way. But then you sit there and you go, they still have Josh Allen. So they're
I mean,
it's crazy
I
to
think
that's
about. Shown. I think that's shown, and that's why it even makes more of a case for him for MVP, because you've seen what he's done, and he's been consistent. And hasn't been in a Jared Goff situation he's going to throw 5 picks. Like he hasn't shown that. So it's like for him to even lose those weapons and kind of be a question mark team, which is kind of rough for the Bills. They've been consistently pretty good the past couple of years. So it's like, why would you doubt them? I guess is my thing. Like I didn't necessarily write them off, but it's like, they still have Josh Allen, and that's the biggest thing is like, dude, he's just an absolute animal.
Now, the thing too, and the last part, about the Bills here is they could completely blunder in the playoffs. Like they could be fooling everybody. They could be like the Buffalo Bills we've seen in the past. They've done really well in the regular season and they choke, but I don't see that about the Buffalo Bills with this around, because they got rid of Diva Diggs. They got rid of the cancer in the locker room. They don't have to worry about, the girlfriend on the sideline that's trying to get back with the ex. They don't have to worry about any of that. He's gone, finally. So they can really focus on the team that they have. And Stephon Diggs is a great player, but the relationship with him and Josh Allen just wasn't working out. He needed the ball. Me. No, team. And you've seen that with the Bills this season, and their defense has played really well as well. So, I think the Bills are right there with the Lions. I think they're right there with the Chiefs, the Ravens. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, Allen is definitely the MVP. But let's move on to this one here. Let's talk about the Patriots and the Rams. I want to hear your opinion about Drake Maye, because Drake Maye has been taking the league by storm. Nobody really expected Drake Maye to do this in his rookie year. I know the Patriots are, we're only 3-8. However, Drake Maye has been the bright spot of the Patriots. And if you're a Patriots fan, you got to be, excited again for the future. It's like, man, the Boston sports fans, it's like they're spoiled. It's like they have a few bad seasons, or they had 2 or 3 seasons, and then all of a sudden it's like, so I want to hear your take on Drake Maye.
Yeah. So when they drafted him, I know the whole Mac Jones situation didn't pan out for them. And at the time when they drafted him, I was like, dude, he's got a great system to be a part of, and there's no reason Mac Jones shouldn't be good. So it's like when Drake Maye came here, I told a lot of people, because we know Patriots fans, we have some family friends that are Patriots fans, and I was like, hey, give this guy time. And I mean, it's showing. He's playing awesome. I don't think there we go. But I honestly don't think you could ask for anything better. I mean, pick wise, you got him all across the board. Like I don't think you could argue with having a guy like that. And all he needs was some time. Like he didn't start out the season. You had Jacoby Brissett there playing, which he kind of held down the fort and did questionable, but it wasn't
game
great.
Manager.
Game manager, exactly. But having a rookie like that who even looks confident and looks poised and like he has it all figured out, and so it's like, dude, he give him a couple years and he's going to be one of these top guys, like a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, whatever you want to say, even Matthew Stafford. Dude, Matthew Stafford's been playing great. I know we're going to talk about him in a minute, but he's
Yeah.
been playing awesome too. But so, dude, Drake Maye, man, I'm super not even surprised. I'm just happy to see him playing the way he is, and especially for Patriots fans, like you go from Mac Jones
Yep.
to, oh man, starting to roll and go the wrong direction, to now Drake Maye. It's like, hey, who is this guy, Drake Maye?
Yeah.
UNC quarterback, ACC guy. Maybe he didn't have the highest hopes, and look at him, man. He's talented.
Well,
He's a talented kid.
and you're absolutely right. And the thing too is people were worried about Drake Maye because he's still really young. He's not fully developed yet. His footwork is there, but it's not there. He's got the arm strength. He's got the Mahomes-esque. He's got the Herbert feel to him. He
Yeah.
can move around the pocket. He's quick. He's fast. He has the intangibles, but is he ready yet? Because he felt like a project guy because he was so young. But man, I mean, he has taken the league by storm with his play. Obviously, the record hasn't shown, but they haven't really surrounded him with any talent yet because he's still the
Yeah.
young guy. But man, I think the future is bright for the Patriots with Drake Maye. You've got to be excited. I mean, you almost just beat the Rams last Sunday in Foxborough. It was a really good game. Even Sean McVay said, he goes, this kid's going to be in the league for a long time. I think the Patriots got a special talent, and they really hit on a home run pick. And I'll sit here and say this. I don't think the Patriots would have drafted Drake Maye if Bill Belichick was still the head coach. I really don't. I think they would have potentially traded back or did some defensive type thing there.
Yeah.
And I think if they would have kept Bill Belichick, he would have spited the Patriots, and they wouldn't have drafted Drake Maye. I really don't. I mean, obviously we know Mac Jones was going to be was on his way out, of course, but I think if the Patriots were to do a draft all over, if Bill Belichick was still the coach, I don't think they would have drafted Maye. That's just me.
I mean, that's a hot take. That's a hot take.
It is.
Bill Belichick is an Annapolis High School grad. Shout out to Bill. Shout out to Annapolis High School. Gotta ride with my guy. He's out in Annapolis some nights. But no, I do kind of agree with you. I think that maybe not in a spiteful way, but I just think he would have passed. And so, like you said, kind of rebuilt from a different approach. But Drake Maye, I mean, even like you said, he's got no weapons. Like he's working with pretty much nothing. And so it's like, even though they're losing games, or, it's not the greatest outcome that you're wanting now, it's also year one. Like we've seen a lot of other guys do well worse year one. And like you kind of said, he has a mix of a lot of guys. And so it's like really him just becoming kind of having a veteran type approach to the NFL and to game days and everything else. It's like that's going to be huge too. And he only needs experience and kind of more pieces around him. He's got nothing. But if anything, this shows you now, hey, this kid's kind of got it. We need to build a team around him and invest into him. So, I mean, he's making a case for it. It's just up to you guys or the Patriots if, they want to build a team around him or not.
And no, you're absolutely right too. And it sucks because the Patriots, they just haven't seemed like they've been able to land a receiver. They drafted Tyquan Thornton out of Baylor. They drafted Jalen Polk's still a rookie out of Washington. He's still very young. He's only played 11 games. So is it fair to say Jalen Polk is a bust because he's only played 11 games and he hasn't really helped the Patriots these last few weeks? It's really hard to say. So I really can't say that's a failure pick on the Patriots yet. But Tyquan Thornton was N'Keal Harry out of Arizona State. So they've had some picks where you're just like, what's going on here? But that's the one thing, Jake, I hate about the draft and these Twitter warriors and these keyboard bots and these guys and these NFL draft guys. They go, well, the Patriots could have drafted this guy, or the Lions could have drafted this guy, or Jahmyr Gibbs. He was on Richard Sherman's podcast and he goes, oh, the Cowboys were going to draft me. Or the Bengals were going to draft me, but they didn't. So the fans have to sit there and live with the pick that you chose. You can't sit there and go, before draft day, I don't know if Deebo Samuel is going to be better than A.J. Brown, or I don't know if Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be better than this guy, or Jalen Polk. I mean, of course, if the guy goes earlier on in the draft, he's probably going to be better than the other guy, but you don't know. I mean, there's been some situations in some cases, like you had Jalen Reagor and Justin Jefferson. Okay, sure. Jalen Reagor was the guy at TCU. Justin Jefferson was breaking a bunch of records at LSU. You can put them on the metric scale. Who's better than who's better? Sure, no problem. But other ones out of smaller schools compared to you don't know. It's a gamble. You don't know.
I mean, even that's like the Lions with Jameson Williams. He didn't. There was a lot of maybe he's not the guy. And I think the past couple of weeks he was shown. He's shut up a lot of those Twitter warriors. All the people on social media. He's kind of shut them up. But the thing is, you don't know. I mean, even Jahmyr Gibbs, he's having a crazy year. He had a pretty solid year last year. You just don't know about these guys. So it's like there's so much what and what if and but and we could have done this. But it's out of our hands as fans and the media. We don't control that. So it's like those guys are scouted. They have all the coaches and their position groups doing their own thing, and it's just a matter of giving guys time. Even for the Patriots, like you got to give the guy time. He's played in 11 games, like
Absolutely.
rookie.
Right.
He's feeling all the pressure and everything. He goes to New England. You guys are always winning Super Bowls. You got that kind of New England swagger to you. It's like you
Yep.
got to give these guys time, and you can't rush it. I think that he's not a bust, but that's just my take. And I'm not saying you think he's a
Right.
bust.
Yeah.
It's too early to tell. But it's like the thing is, a lot of fans nowadays are giving up on guys. 5 games in. Oh, this rookie's a bust. Oh, we shouldn't have drafted him. Oh, we shouldn't have this. I'm like, dude, he's played in 5 NFL games.
Look
Like,
at look
let's
at
go
Anthony
put let's go put
Richardson.
you. Yeah, but I'm
Right.
like, let's
Look
go
at
put you in
yes.
a situation like this to be
Right.
an NFL guy and have all this pressure and hear all this in the media, and let's see how you deal with it.
Look at Anthony Richardson, for example. People have been coming for his head because he played a total of 10 games. Now, am I going to sit here and say Anthony Richardson has been, lighting the top off and he's been, great? No, but this is another thing too. I had this conversation with people about Anthony Richardson. He was never officially fully developed at Florida. He never really got his feet under him. He was never, yes, he was at Florida and he showed flashes and he had the Utah game and he had the crazy, spin around type touchdown and he had the crazy arm
Yeah,
strength and the crazy throws against LSU, Kentucky. But when you're not fully developed and the Colts just draft you and go, yep, you're going to be our guy from day one. We really think you're going to be the guy. And then you go and bench him 10 games in. It's like, he's a kid. He's a baby. He still has the training wheels on. You got to let him develop
yeah,
and let him play. So I hate that whole narrative in the NFL where they bench the guy. Look at Bryce Young's another example. It's like they benched him. He's never going to come back. They did this with the Colts with Anthony Richardson. His time is done in Indianapolis, excuse me. And they said, "Oh, Joe Flacco's a starter for the rest of the season."
yep,
But now he's back. It's like, I do not like that. I've just never been a fan of that. And I know there's two sides to the coin, right? You've got, well, you can either sit the quarterback for a whole year, like the Chiefs
yeah,
did with Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith, or you can throw the rookie in a few weeks in, like kind of the Patriots did. But people tend to forget too, Jake, that Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith. He has Andy Reid. They had weapons already. They didn't just throw him into a dumpster fire and said, "Hey, Patrick, go and create something and let's just do all these
yeah,
things and be Houdini." No, they didn't
yeah,
do that. They had pieces around him. Was Mahomes more talented than Alex Smith? Yes, but he also got to learn under Andy Reid. He
yeah.
also got to learn under Alex Smith. So that right there just really kind of throws me for a loop because these quarterbacks, you got to give them time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, even back to your point, I think about the Jimmy G situation, in New
Yep.
England. It's like
Yep.
if that would have been Drake Maye having all that to learn from, it's like, dude, he would be a freak right now in the NFL. Like he would be an absolute monster. So exactly like you said, they're giving up on guys too early. And I've always kind of thought, drafting a guy like that, you kind of can't throw him into the fire right away. Let
Yep.
him be the backup for half a season. Season's kind of going the wrong way. You're not winning games. Maybe you kind of throw him in, but even then you're throwing him to a dumpster fire and just hoping that you get kind of flashes out of him. It's just, that's how the NFL is. People want a product, they want it now, and all those fans, harping on their fan base and
Yep.
their team to perform. No one wants to lose on Sundays. So I
No.
get it from a fan perspective, but at the same time, you got to think long term and giving up on a guy like Anthony Richardson already. Like, what are you doing?
10
He
games
played at
in.
Florida. He played at Florida, and it wasn't even half the talent that he could have been. I think his biggest downfall was not staying around in Florida. Obviously, we're Gator fans, so it kind of
Yeah.
adds a little bit of
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
meaning behind that.
Yep.
But he was a freak in college, and he still wasn't as good as he could have been. And I think that he just kind of needed to maybe mature a little bit more in the right sense. Not that he's like an immature guy or an off field problem, but just he needed to kind of grow a little bit more, especially playing at an SEC school like Florida or even Bama. All these schools like Bryce Young. Bryce Young, he played at Alabama, where Alabama is winning everything. Nick
Yep.
Saban, it's like so his case I feel like is a little bit different. Just even Carolina, they try to build around him, they try to add weapons, and he just never really panned out. And so I feel like Bryce is kind of a different situation. But Anthony, it's like, dude, what are you doing? You threw him in this dumpster fire. Now you pulled him out because he was too tired, whatever. Maybe he just said the wrong thing. You interview a guy after the game and or say you're
Yeah.
that player,
Yeah.
and you're just like, you know what, you got all this going on in your head. You make one comment and it's like, oh no,
Mhm.
he's just too tired to play football. Oh no, he can't handle the NFL. It's like, what are you doing? Like,
Right.
guys say stuff all the time. Like, you just can't take one thing and run with it, which is what everyone does. I get it. But it's like, you
Yes, they
can't take
do.
one thing and run with it. And, it's just sad, but hopefully he turns it around. I know I'm pulling for him. I know you're pulling for him.
Yep,
But we'll see.
absolutely.
I think he's got so much talent, dude, that he could be a Josh Allen one day, and everyone's gonna be, oh yeah, we knew he was gonna be that way. But it's like, no, no,
Oh
no, no,
yeah,
no. We
you
we
didn't say
know
that.
right here, yeah, we know right here that he was the
Yeah.
guy there. But dude, we'll have to see. Another kind of team that needs to build more around him, because Jonathan Taylor's not cutting it and Pittman's not cutting it, But we'll
No,
have to
they
see.
you're absolutely right. And the thing too about the Colts all those years is they had that good offensive line for quite some time with Andrew Luck, and that was the thing there with the Colts. But now it's like I think you got to stick with Richardson and kind of let him develop and build around him. But I want to move on to this point here though. Power rankings in the NFL Week 12 came out. The Lions are actually number 1, the Bills are 2, the Chiefs are 3, the Eagles are 4, the Steelers are 5. That's an interesting top 5. I mean, it's really hard to disagree with that. I mean, uh, yeah, I mean, I still think the Ravens are better than the Steelers, though. I would say that power ranking. I don't know. Who are
I mean,
your top 5 teams in the
that's
NFL? I know the Ravens just lost to the Steelers, but who are your top 5
Well,
teams in the
well,
NFL?
I think back to the Ravens, and my buddies are gonna hate this because they're all Ravens fans, but I
Yeah.
don't think the Ravens are that good. Plain and simple, I don't think they're that good. Besides Kyle Hamilton, Derrick
Mm,
Henry, and Lamar Jackson, that's your team right there. I think Bateman and Zay Flowers haven't played great. At times they've made enough plays. They're not getting enough out of Mark Andrews. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's Lamar and Derrick, and then you got one guy on defense that's making plays. And even there, Kyle Hamilton dropped that one, should have been a pick, I think against the Bucks a couple weeks ago. And it's like he
mm,
could have sealed the game right there, but he didn't. And so it's like those are the guys you got to count on. And when you only have a handful, I don't think the Ravens are a bad team. But 4 or 5, I think the Steelers have shown that they've
mm.
been better. I personally don't agree with the Steelers though right now, moving away from Justin Fields. I think he was a guy from the started off a little shaky, started off a little rough. Russell Wilson's a great quarterback, but he's all
Ooh,
we've also seen Russell not play so well. So
right,
it's
right.
like, I and back to the confidence thing, killing guys' confidence. You can't start the season off with Justin and say, hey, Russ is hurt, help lead us into a position where he can play again or, win us games. He does
Yep.
that. And then now you're like, oh, psych, you know what? Russ is back. And then it's a toss up again. But I just think that Justin Fields never really got his shot in Chicago. And so, I mean, we could go down that's a whole can of worms.
Yeah,
But
it is.
I think the Steelers are a top 5 team right now. And I think the Eagles are too. The only thing with that is I think the Commanders are just right there with the Eagles. Like, I think that's kind of a toss up. Um, but yeah, I mean, I agree putting the Bills number 2 too. Absolutely. I mean, I don't see any reason for the Chiefs to be ahead of them. I get that was kind of a close game, but Josh Allen, like I said, MVP quarterback, all the
Mhm.
pieces are kind of gelling the right time, and they're making it work, dude. Like on defense, like you said, they're playing awesome. And you got Josh Allen doing his thing, making a case for the MVP. I don't argue with that list at all, especially with the Lions at number 1. How can I argue? I agree
Yeah,
with
I was gonna
that.
say you're definitely not gonna argue with
I
that.
would say
Yeah.
it's definitely the right list for sure. But the Chiefs aren't a bad team either, so I totally get and respect having them at 3 just because they're right behind
Yeah.
the Bills. You lose that game, it makes total sense. But I kind of agree with the Eagles and the Steelers. I know that might be a little hot take, but like I said, it'd probably be Commanders or Eagles. Honestly, I thought the Commanders would be the number 2 seed in the playoffs and probably
Mhm.
play us, or not play us, but
Yeah.
NFC
Mm,
Championship type
yep.
matchup. But then they lost to the Eagles, so it's like, what can you do? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I mean, I think the Lions right now are playing the best football in the NFL. So if we want to go by it, you want to put them as 1, sure, no problem. Yeah, I mean, you have to put the Bills over the Chiefs because they did just beat the Chiefs, last weekend at Highmark Stadium. I'm not Eagle. I'm not high on the Eagles. I never have been. I don't think Jalen Hurts is that good. I think they have a lot of help around him. I think they mask his true identity. It really does help. They got Saquon Barkley in the offseason. Their offensive line is really good. Their defense has played better this year compared to last year with what's his name? He was the Vic Fangio. He was the defense coordinator for the Eagles last
Yep.
year. But I don't know. I don't like Nick Sirianni. I really never have. I think he's too in over his head, and I think Eagles fans will come crashing down late in the season probably in the playoffs, probably when they lose either in the NFC Championship to the Lions or they lose in the divisional to just
Yeah.
a team that they didn't expect to lose to. So I'm not high on the Eagles. I never have been. I think the usage
Yeah.
rate in the end there is going to be too big on Saquon Barkley, and I think they're going to overuse him in the end. And I think that Jalen Hurts will be forced to throw. Saquon Barkley will be shut down in the playoffs because teams, play better, tighter games in the playoffs, and they'll make Jalen Hurts, force him to, his weak side, make him uncomfortable, make him throw the ball, flush him outside of the pocket to his left, because I know he's really good to his right. He's just that's his strong side. However, I'm not high on the Eagles, but I'm okay with that list. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm still high on the Ravens because of Lamar Jackson. I mean, you saw what they did against Kansas City week 1. He's a freak. I mean, he can get you to the promised land. They went to the AFC Championship last year, so I wish the Bengals were a little higher on this list because I love Joe Burrow. I know they're 18. Obviously, their defense is arguably the worst in the NFL. They're sitting at 4-7.
They're just not winning.
They technically have to win out to get into the playoffs, but I mean, that's a whole other conversation. I wanted to ask you this. Do you think sports fans are too obsessed with stats over watching the game?
That's a great take. I'd say now maybe more than ever, just because the media pushes stats so much. I know that I don't care if Jared Goff throws 5 picks and no touchdowns. If the Lions win the game, it's all I care about. And Jared Goff, in my eyes, is going to be a great quarterback. So I feel like it kind of just depends. But now, you check social media and it's like, oh, so-and-so threw for this, that, how many touchdowns? Oh, they had, 4 rushing touchdowns, whatever, freak of nature stats, which, I mean, it plays a part. Stats matter, obviously. It's not like they don't. But I feel like to a lot of people, maybe the kind of average fan, or you have some Patriots fans, I'm sure, just like, oh, the Patriots doing well, I'll take a look. But like that kind of helps because like, oh, Drake Maye's doing this and this and this, like, oh, we're so good. But then it's like, hey, are you guys winning games? And so that's the biggest thing. Even like you said with the Eagles, to kind of go back to that point really quickly, they haven't played the best ball, and I'm not saying that I'm super high on them either, but they're winning. And so I mean, the Bengals too are a great example of that, where they're just not winning games. They should be a much better team, should have a much better record, should be a top dog, but they're just not getting it done. And so, like, do stats really matter in the long run? If you're not winning games, like Joe Burrow looks great. He could be an MVP candidate, but it's like, would you rather have him win the MVP, or would you rather have, you guys have a shot at the Super Bowl? It's like,
right. Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. I think fans get so obsessed with the stat. They see the flashy plays. Like Richardson, for example, week 1 against the Texans, he had that insane touchdown. I think it was to Alec Pierce. I mean, does that matter? Did they win the game? No. Mahomes threw the flashy play, or Jared Goff throws an insane go route to Jamison Williams. Drake Maye against the Titans had that miraculous overtime, before the overtime, that 0 seconds on the clock, he threw it up there kind of for grabs or whatever. Does it matter that much? I mean, it's putting you in position to win the game, but if you're not winning the game, like you said, the Bengals point is a perfect example. They're not winning games. So if Joe Burrow can throw for 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, yeah, it's going to put you in position, but you got to win the game. So I completely agree with that. But I want to move on to this point here. I have, been loving this the past few weeks for some reason. I wasn't really into this, but now I am. The Cowboys, they drop officially to 3-7. It has been a comedy show. The Jerry Jones circus. People are comparing him to Joe Biden. It is too funny. The Cowboys' wheels have officially fallen off. Dak Prescott's hurt. The Cowboys look like, I think the Cowboys are the worst team in the NFL. I really do. I think the Patriots are better than the Cowboys. Hell, I'd even take the Panthers over them. They just look like an absolute, they are the definition of a dumpster fire. What's even so funny about the Cowboys, the game of Monday Night Football last night against the Texans, the metal part of the roof is coming off. I mean, you can't make this you can't make this shit up. I mean, you really can't. It's too funny. So you actually went to the Cowboys-Lions game, is that correct?
I was there. Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, so walk me through that. Tell me how that went, because actually, and I know Aiden Hutchinson got hurt, aside from that, but you got to see the Cowboys get the shit kicked out of them. I can't even say it. I get too excited.
Yeah. So no, I mean, the Cowboys are absolutely terrible right now. There's no way around it. They know it. Their fans know it, but you'll still hear, next year's their year. They're America's team, which I think is complete crap. But my dad's actually a Cowboys fan, so we went to that game. The whole time he's like, you guys are probably going to embarrass us. And, I went into the game kind of being, a little hopeful that it'd be a good game or whatever. I was like, you know what, you'll put up a fight. You still have some talented guys. Dude, their O-line is just struggling. I mean, we could run through their O-line and hit Dak. It's like, what can you do there? So I get their point of like, hey, we're pretty banged up, because they are. I mean, it's a fact. But dude,
Yeah,
that game was awesome. We totally just dismantled them before the game. The fans are talking so much trash, man.
of course.
Even that first drive, they started to kind of move the ball. The guy in front of me is turning around, swinging his little Cowboys towel. I'm like, dude, pipe the brakes. And then we just completely exposed them, dismantled them. I've never seen a football game
Mhm.
like it.
I had to put my glasses on. I was so freaking tired. My contacts were in the back of my head. However, we were talking about the Cowboys and the Lions. We were talking about the game that you actually went to, the Cowboys game where Aiden Hutchinson got hurt and Lions fans were in shambles, even though they blew the doors off of the Cowboys. So kind of walk me through that game and how that went and kind of go from there.
Yeah, so like I was saying before we had the difficulties, my pops is a Cowboys fan. Unfortunately, he's the only one in the house. Thank God. But he went into the game, feeling like the Lions were gonna beat the brakes off them. And I was trying to remain hopeful. I was like, hey, Dad, let's hopefully it's a good game. Hopefully it's a good game. Ended up, obviously, we all know the score. It wasn't a good game. It was a good game if you're a Lions fan, not if you're a Cowboys fan. Cowboys fans, before the game, they had that one great opening drive. Or not even great, but, decent opening drive. Compared to the rest of their season, it was great.
Yeah.
Started moving the ball, and the guy in front of me waving his Cowboys towel, oh, we them boys, we them boys. Well, we all saw how that turned out. It was a great game, great time in Dallas, except obviously losing Hutch, and that's just like the biggest blow to the Lions right now. But that game was awesome. I mean, to watch them run trick plays on the Cowboys, America's team, quote unquote. It was awesome, man. I mean, you couldn't want a better game besides the Hutch injury, which happened right in front of me. Really unfortunate, but
Ooh,
it is.
that was a
rough.
gruesome injury. I saw that, and I was watching that with my friend, and I was like, man, this is oh gosh, I don't even want to see this. I've seen the Paul George injury. I've seen the Kevin Ware injury. You saw the Alex Smith injury. I mean, that ranks up there definitely with, a nasty injury. But let's move on to a division rival of the Cowboys. Daniel Jones has officially been benched by the New York Football Giants. They are arguably one of the worst teams in the NFL. That Thanksgiving matchup between the Cowboys and the Giants next Thursday is going to be one not for the ages. Tommy DeVito and Cooper Rush. I mean, you cannot make this story up. I mean, we were thinking we were going to get Daniel Jones, Dak Prescott, and just like a fun Thanksgiving Cowboys Giants, clash. I don't even know if I'm going to want to watch the Cowboys and the Giants play. I mean, the Giants they're another dumpster fire, but Daniel Jones has officially been benched. Do you think Daniel Jones, has a future in the NFL other than being a backup quarterback?
Honestly, no. I don't think that's a hot take at all. Daniel Jones should have never been the guy. He was never the guy to begin with. The fact that they didn't, sign Saquon and franchise him and say, hey, you got one more year left, prove it, buddy. You would have been in a much better position. But now you traded Saquon to the Eagles. I mean, the Giants are a joke. The Cowboys are a joke. The Giants are a joke. Even the NFC East. I mean, you see the Eagles, which everyone kind of figured when stuff started to kind of work itself out, and the Cowboys are going to be who they are, the Giants are going to be who they were. You kind of expected them at the top, and the Commanders too. But dude, the Giants are just. I mean, I have a buddy that's a Giants fan. He doesn't even watch this game on Thanksgiving. It's gonna be my afternoon nap. Like right after the Lions game, I'm like, I don't even want to watch that. It's gonna be an absolute shit show on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
The NFL, I'm sure, wishes they could switch that around and put a different game there, but it is what it is, man. But how do you feel about the Giants?
If only I know, right? If only the Lions, if only the NFL could flex the Cowboys and the Giants game out of primetime. Jerry Jones would have an absolute heart attack. He would literally have an aneurysm in his palace suite of a box that he has at Jerry's World. But which they should change. The Cowboys should change the stadium name to Jerry's World. They should just change it officially instead of AT&T Stadium. It should be Jerry Jones' Stadium.
I mean, but like you said, even his stadium's falling apart. I mean, are there pieces falling down in his suite? Like, who knows?
The metal roof is falling off. But going back to the Daniel Jones point here for a second. Yeah, Daniel Jones, I said this weeks ago. I said the Daniel Jones experiment was over. I know he fooled the Giants because he had that one good season. He had that one good playoff game against the Vikings in the wild card game. And, everyone was like, oh my God, Daniel Jones, like he can be the guy if we surround him with talent. No, Daniel Jones is not the guy. He never has been. It was a reach at pick 6 from Duke. You could have drafted him at 17, and that was the former regime there with Dave Gettleman from the Panthers. Then he came over to the Giants, and now you have Joe Shane and Brian Daboll Dable. Shame on Brian Dable and Joe Schoen for even sticking with Daniel Jones. Oh, we're paying $40 million. And now you have to sit there with the question with Daniel Jones too, Jake, is what team is going to want Daniel Jones? I mean, realistically, what team is going to want Daniel Jones? $40 million a year. You're going to have to cut him because no team's going to want to trade for that contract. There is no way. You put yourself in that position, and now you have to eat the cap and eat the salary that you're going to have to cut him with, because there is no way a team is going to want that contract. Absolutely not.
Not to get too far off from what we're talking about, but
yeah,
the Browns. I mean, the Browns for the same.
Deshaun Watson.
They're going to be struggling for years and years to come. And the Giants already weren't good, and now they're just bottom of the barrel. Going to be the new Panthers. Them and the Panthers would be competing for the worst teams in the NFL. And it's like, what do you do? I mean, that's a great question. What do you do with him? Because no team's going to want him. No one in their right mind is going to want him.
And sticking here on Daniel Jones, you're absolutely right. And yes, Daniel Jones is a backup quarterback in the NFL. Yes, he can come in at best and give you what you need if somebody gets hurt. But he is not a franchise guy. He has proven that year in and year out. Now, this is 6 seasons, and he's had over 70 starts. We have seen the Daniel Jones experiment. It hasn't been like Richardson, or let's just say, I mean, I know Mac Jones, was in New England for 3 years, but, another guy, for example, you had Richardson, you've had these young rookie quarterbacks.
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. The experiment has been exposed on Daniel Jones. You've gone into the science lab. You've tried everything with Daniel Jones. It's over. The experiment is over in New York. You got to move on from him. Just eat your loss. Swallow your pride and just cut him when the season is over. I mean, I don't know. There's rumors that they could potentially cut him this week. Obviously, he got demoted to quarterback 3 on the depth chart behind Tommy DeVito and Drew Lock, because a salary cap, they don't want to pay him if he comes in and somebody gets hurt. No. So he's done. It's over with Daniel Jones. But it's just kind of funny because now, they're going to have to draft a quarterback. They really are. And they were so desperate to draft a quarterback this offseason, when they tried to trade up for Drake Maye. They tried to get Daniels, they tried to get Caleb Williams. They tried to really go in on those quarterbacks because they knew Daniel Jones wasn't the guy. And now Brian Dable and Joe Schoen have to be sitting there like biting their nails because the time is over at Daniel Jones. You didn't want to pay Saquon Barkley. It's over officially. And they could potentially get fired too. I don't see a world where, unfortunately, Brian Dable won Coach of the Year a few years ago. Joe Schoen, they brought him in. He was the assistant Bills GM. And now you sit there and you go, what do we do here? Do we give them another shot? But they didn't, want to go with Saquon Barkley. I get you want to pay your quarterback over a running back, but my hands are up in the air in this one. Either John Mara, go ahead.
No, I mean, it's almost like a Florida situation. And, I mean, they're mimicking the Carolina Panthers from a business standpoint, and then keeping Daniel Jones. I mean, what are you thinking? But, I mean, even back to kind of the Florida point, really, I mean, it's not like you're going to get a talented guy with what you have with Daniel Jones. No one's going to give you anything good to where, hey, maybe you get a guy out of this like a DJ Lagway that comes in and, oh, my God, my job's kind of safe for a little bit. Like, the Giant, there's no hope. There's no hope. And, I mean, them having to deal with that alone is going to be a heartache and or headache, sorry. And, just there's nothing to do. Like, I don't even know what I would do if I was in this situation. What do you do?
The amount of, this is what I'll say here, the amount of pressure that is on the New York Football Giants organization, because how I see it too, I match up with, I stack it up with all the other teams in the sports New York world. You've got the Knicks, you've got the Mets, you've got the Jets, you've got the Yankees, you have the Rangers, all these big market teams. You have the Brooklyn Nets as well. You have all these big market teams. Now you have the New York Liberty, and they're not really relevant, but they're in that sports realm. You have all these teams that are stacking up and comparing to the New York Giants. The Jets had to make sure they went out and got Rodgers. The Jets had to make sure they went out and got Devontae Adams. The New York Knicks had to make sure they went out and got Karl Anthony Towns, because they're trying to. It's like competing with the younger brother. I want to be better than my older brother. I want to be better. 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 Because the market is so fluctuating. The Yankees, the pressure is going to be on for the Yankees to sign Juan Soto. You just went to the World Series. You paid Aaron Judge. You have to match up with all these other teams. Same thing with the Giants. So the pressure is on for them, because let's say they draft Shedeur Sanders. Let's say they get pick 4 or 5. Let's say that happens and it flops. And or Shedeur, wets the bed in his first 5 games. The media is going. It's the New York media. That's how it is. And the Daniel Jones experiment, is over. It's done. So. That's how I feel about that.
Their hands are tied. For sure. I mean, even with the Jets. I mean, with everything they've been doing, and they kind of sold out. And I had more hope for the Jets, and then it's like they're.
I think everybody did.
I mean,
Yep.
both New York teams are just like, what are you guys doing? Like,
Yep.
you're paying guys that you shouldn't be, and you got a mess. And it's like, this is going to be a year after year after year impact that they're going to feel this. I mean, both of them are the Jets and the Giants, but
Yep. And I'm glad you brought that up too. We'll talk about the Jets here briefly, but the New York Jets are another dumpster fire too. It's kind of funny because Aaron Rodgers, we thought he was going to be the guy, and everyone thinks it's going to be the Brady effect, and he's going to come in. It's going to be like Stafford, and they trade for or they trade for him, and they get him from the Packers, and how Stafford won. He won the Super Bowl with the Rams. And then you had Brady. He came in, total different situation, and now the Jets are an actual disgrace of a franchise. You thought Aaron Rodgers was going to save your franchise. You went and traded for Davante Adams, and look what you've got. You got yourself a total of 0. And it sucks because, there actually is talent on the New York Jets roster. I mean, you can go a lot, let's just name some players. You got Garrett Wilson, talented guy out of Ohio State. You got Brees Hall out of Iowa State. He's talented. You got Davante Adams. There's talent right there. You've got Sauce Gardner. You've got DJ Reed. You have Quinnen Williams. You have Will McDonald. Hassan Reddick. I mean, like, there is talent there. Brees Hall, Braylon Allen. They just drafted out of Wisconsin this past draft. Like, there is talent there. But the problem with the Jets too, the main thing they did not do, they did not address their offensive line. They went out and they thought Morgan Moses and Tyron Smith were going to come back from retirement homes and block for Aaron Rodgers for his blind side. Absolutely not. That wasn't going to happen. I know they drafted Oli Fashanu out of Penn State. He's a rookie guy. In certain situations, it's really hard to bring in a rookie tackle, just off the bench like that and bring him in. I know that the Chargers have had they drafted Joe Alt out of Notre Dame, and he has been spectacular. But yeah, like I said, the Jets, the wheels have fallen off. And I said this earlier in the year. If the Jets are smart, they will tell Aaron Rodgers, you won't be coming back next year. We're going to give you a pink slip. You're not fired. Like Donald Trump has said, you're fired. Because there is no way you bring him back. Why? What is going Aaron Rodgers? You're not a contender. You're one of the worst teams in the NFL. You think your problems are going to get solved in all one offseason? They thought last year, they're like, oh, well, we thought Aaron Rodgers comes back. He comes back after the Achilles injury. He'll look better, or he'll look, like he did against the, that opening game against the Bills. He had that, nasty, gruesome Achilles injury. Oh, we'll get some offensive line. We'll help Rodgers out. Then we'll play the game, and then we'll trade for Davante Adams, midway through the season, and everything will solve all our problems. Even though we really haven't addressed our main problem, the offensive line. No, Woody Johnson and the New York Jets organization, they just fired their GM Joe Douglas. It's time, Rodgers. You hang it up. We appreciate you. We messed up on our end. We thought you were going to be the guy for us. We traded for you. We thought you were going to save us. You haven't. It's over. Yeah. It's done. Close the experiment. Go to the draft and get yourself a quarterback.
Yeah. So do you think then that culture in the NFL is an important part? Because it sounds like, I said culture in the NFL. I said, do you think culture in the NFL is an important part? Because now you're seeing it where the Lions were really bad and they brought in the right culture. And now the Giants, I mean, it doesn't sound like they have good culture in that locker room and that organization. Same with the Jets. I mean, they sold out and they did it all the wrong way. They tried to mimic that LA Rams team, and it's just not working.
The Bucks.
We all know with the Bucks, with Brady. It's like, but at the same time, the Bucks, I feel like, had a more complete team.
They did.
But I mean, there is still a lot of talent on the Jets, like you said. No,
there is. And you made a great point there about the Jets, and you asked me, how do I feel about that whole situation? Well, the first thing you got to do, you got to get rid of Rodgers. We made a mistake on you. We're sorry. We thought you were going to be better than you were, but we don't have time anymore to wait. You're 40 years old, man. The time is ticking on you. Like, it's like, we can't wait. It's like almost like I'm going to pull this analogy in here. It's like a 35-year-old girl. She's like, I got to have kids, man, with the guy. And the guy's like, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do here. No, you're either with me or you're not. You're either all in, you're either all out. So you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So with Rodgers, for example, you got to tell him, you got to go. It's time that he, packs it up. You've done everything you could for us, but we don't have the luxury. We don't have to wait. We can't wait anymore, because if we keep you and we go draft a position next year, that's going to set us back even further.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about the Jets, and it sucks because the Jets fans were thinking, oh man, I thought the Jets were even going to win the division. I was like, let's have some fun. I was like, you know what, they got Rodgers. He's got some spice under him. He's got it. Maybe he's got his legs back. They have talent around them, but man, I mean, and that's the thing too. I did see this, and accountability is key in the NFL. But this point here about Rodgers, and then I'll wrap up on Rodgers there. With the New York Jets, the talent is there, but I think the players the other than Rodgers are on a total different wavelength. I just think that, you've seen how isolated he was in Green Bay with his players. He doesn't
Yeah.
even talk to his own family, which is really weird within itself. I think Rodgers is
Yeah.
so focused on, I don't know him personally, but I from just what I've seen from a distance and just kind of putting everything together. Now, I could be talking out of my ass, but this is just my opinion. I just think that Rodgers is so removed from everybody else on the team where he doesn't relate to the other players. He doesn't relate to a Braylon Allen. He doesn't relate to a Breece Hall. He doesn't relate to a Garrett Wilson. Of course,
Yeah.
they thought, the chemistry isn't there. So I think that right there, just with Rodgers and the coaching thing too, I will sit here and say, I think he got Robert Saleh fired. I really do. I don't think that, I don't think he wanted Robert Saleh there. And they've actually been worse since Robert Saleh left.
Yeah. Which is crazy. And then, I mean, even Devontae, you add him in the mix. It's like, hey, this is my butt buddy. This is the guy that I wanted. You're going to make all these special requests for me. And it shows the other guys in the locker room like, hey, like, we don't need this guy. And Devontae's great. I mean, Devontae's a great receiver, one of the best. And it's like, hey, but I'm here. Garrett Wilson's like, hey, but I'm your guy. Like, what the hell? And so, I mean, all his kind of decisions and them even kind of basing this team around him, like you said, he's 40 years old. Like, what? Why are you basing a whole team around this one guy? Like, oh, you wanna skip out on this? Oh yeah, do whatever you want. Like, you're Aaron Rodgers. It's like, hey, you need to humble yourself here. You were trying to kind of revamp your career and be prime Aaron Rodgers, and your clock's ticking, dude. Like, you're running out of time. You're running out of resources. You totally dismantled this whole organization. It's like, what are you doing, dude? And how much are you guys gonna keep letting him get away with stuff like that?
This is the last point I'll make. You made about Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think people tend to forget that Aaron Rodgers put himself in a situation by going to the New York Jets with an insane media rap every single day, the media beating him up. And I don't care if he makes $1 billion, 10 million, 20 cents. The media is going to get to you at some point. You could say, oh, I block it out. You're still walking down the road. You still see the posters. You still see it. You're in the press conference or you're in the facility. It's New York City. It's not going anywhere. Tampa, the market was not like that. Tom Brady, like you said, went to a complete team. It was a lot different situation. There wasn't really any pressure on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was like, well, if Brady comes in, he can probably save us. It'll probably be a good pick or it'll be a good signing. We don't know if we'll get to the Super Bowl, but the expectations weren't, we expect to win a Super Bowl. We expect to be good. We expect to be relevant because, I don't think anyone thought the Bucs were going to win a Super Bowl with Brady.
With Brady, I think that inside the organization, I'm sure they were thinking, hey, Super Bowl, this is our guy. But you're right. In the outside world, you're not seeing, oh, Brady's going to lead the Bucs to Super Bowl this year. All in on Brady and the Bucs.
Right.
You weren't seeing that. But I told my mom, she's a Bucs fan, and they signed Tom Brady. I told her, you just won the Super Bowl. And I'm the only person that said it to him. I was like, hey, you just won the Super Bowl. Because they were so complete around him. That, like, throwing a quarterback like that in, it made total sense. It made complete sense. From top to bottom, it kind of fit, and it just worked.
Before we officially wrap on the NFL, I've been seeing this one here, and this one has gone viral around the sports world, and I'm sure you've seen it as well. The Trump dance. The Trump dance has gone viral around the NFL, and actually in UFC as well. You got John Jones that did it. You got Christian Pulisic that did it in soccer. Brock Bowers did it for the Raiders. Bosa did it last week before he got hurt, and then Zadarius Smith did it for your Lions. So, I mean, it's just so funny to see, and I love it because everyone was like, oh, well, the NFL cracked down on the Trump dance. The NFL should not crack down on the Trump dance. They actually came out and said today they wouldn't be cracking down on it. And two, the players, if the NFL were to crack down on it, Jake, they could literally sit there and say, I'm just doing a dance. Donald Trump doesn't own this dance. He doesn't own the dance. So, I mean, they can do whatever they want, but I have no problem with the dance. I mean, so I don't know. What were you feeling when Zadarius Smith was doing it?
Yeah, I mean, when him and Malcolm Rodriguez broke it out, I was loving it. I was like, that's sick. I caught on to it right away. I was like, oh, there you go, attaboy. He got my vote. I know some people are gonna not like that, but I support it. It's not like a Bosa thing where he brings out the hat, which even then I thought, whatever. But I get it's like not a team hat, so I mean, it makes sense. But if it was the other way around, it wouldn't have been a problem. But
of course,
the NFL had to kind of crack down. But there's no way they can take that away or fine guys.
No.
It's just a dance at the end of the day. We got guys in college pulling out guns and shooting the other team and all this other stuff, and it's no big deal. So if the NFL got a little this was too much, then that would just be ridiculous. But I love it, man. I don't know about you. I think it's awesome.
No, I love it. like I said, the NFL said they're not going to be doing anything about the Trump dance. And the thing about the Trump dance too, or they call it the Trump dance. Donald Trump, like I said, does not own this dance. The players can just going back to what I said, they can literally say, I'm just dancing. Donald Trump doesn't own it. I could do whatever I want. And two, cracking down on it would be stupid. I could totally understand too about like if they're wearing, like, let's just say this is a MAGA hat and they're wearing a MAGA hat. Yeah, sure, no problem. Like that, or they're wearing a Harris hat. There's a time and a place where you do that. But this here
Absolutely.
is a dance. Players have done way worse celebrations in the past, and they haven't taken that away. So I mean, I know the NFL, it's kid friendly and they don't want that, but I don't have a problem with the Trump dance. And I love it because the libs are in shambles on Twitter, on X, on TikTok, on social media. And they're just shaking in their boots and they cannot handle it. And it's great. And I think, I'm really excited about it. And I love that the players are expressing their passion, and they're showing that this is who I voted for. And now you've seen more players come out and they're supporting him. And if somebody wanted to do a Harris dance, they can go right ahead. Nobody's going to do a Harris dance because nobody likes her.
Maybe they'll fall asleep like Joe Biden.
Nobody likes them.
maybe they'll lay down in the end zone. I mean, like I said,
maybe there's been like Biden memes where he's like, he's falling asleep, or just
I think they just kind of lay down and take a nap or something, fall asleep, whatever.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, I have no problem with it. I'm glad the NFL is not going to be, changing their rules or cracking down on the dance, because that would be taking away the fun of it.
It's kind of surprising them, just because the world we live in now, it's very surprising. But like,
I'm with you.
Agree.
Oh, and the last thing I'll make about this point too, with the dance, there was one other thing that I was thinking about the I can't think of it now. It was to do with the Trump dance. Nah, I don't remember. I can't think of it now. I had it written down. I lost my train of thought about it. I had it right in my head. You know what? I don't know if you remember, if you ever have that happen to you, but you're thinking about it. Oh, this is what it was. Now I remember. Now here it is. NBC and CBS. It seems like they cut out the players doing the dances, like Brock Bowers. They like cut away from it, or like they wouldn't show it in their broadcast, which is ridiculous. Like you can only, like at this point now, you guys lost the election. Put your tears away, because you can only censor and silence the people for so long. People voted for Donald Trump. That's who they wanted to be in office for these next 4 years. You had your turn. By editing out clips and editing out parts of a touchdown because of a dance is sad. That's the problem with our country. That is so soft. That is ridiculous.
Dude, it's surprising. It's surprising to a lot of people too. It's surprising to a lot of people too, I'm sure, that these players, they're like, wait a second, I thought you probably would have gone the other way. And now it's like having the fans that are like, hey, we're just fans. We just love our team. And maybe they voted for Trump. Maybe they did, like me. Like, voted for Trump, love the Lions, love Zadarius Smith, love that pickup, and
he's doing the dance, and it's one more thing. I'm like, hey, look at that, like that's kind of funny, man. So it's like, oh, fun. The players are having fun with it. Like, don't take it away, don't screw these guys over about it. It's ridiculous.
Or find them. But the last point about this too, I'll make just about like politics and sports in general. And a lot of people don't like to mix politics and sports, but with this situation here, it's not a very big deal. And I think, like a dance like this, can put it on the map. Like people are starting to see, like, it may just be a dance to you, but it may mean something to somebody more, because they're like, wow, like I respect that player. Or you can take the other side of the coin, which is kind of how I feel. I don't really care who you vote for. If you want to vote for Harris, you want to vote for Jimmy John or Joey or Susie, vote for whoever you want. I may not agree with you on it. I'm going to tell you how I feel. And I think that, you did vote for the wrong person. That's my opinion, but I'm not going to look at you differently. I'm not going to unfollow you on Instagram. I'm not going to unfollow you on social media. That is so childish. Hell, I even had a cousin that unfollowed me on social media. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah,
I said, if it's that personal,
a lot of followers and a lot of friends on Facebook.
Yep.
I'm like,
I had friends Yep. If it's that personal, and the thing too is it's for 4 years. Republicans sat there and dealt with that shit show for 4 years. Now it's our turn for you to sit through what we have to go through. And if Donald Trump screws it up, then he screws it up. But don't sit here and do all these like crazy things of unfollow and not talking to people and all these hate messages. I get it. Politics is a very controversial, it's a very sticky subject. But the space I'm in, and having you on, if I respect you for your views, and if you didn't, right? But you may not agree on everything that somebody says, but to sit there and patronize and attack somebody because of who they voted for, I didn't sit there and go, man, I'm going to unfollow all these people. Then I'm going to go through a list and go, oh my God, they posted a story about, or I posted a story. They posted a story about Biden when he was in, or Harris at that time. I didn't like it. I didn't sit there and, and kick my feet up in the air. I didn't want that to happen, but it's a democracy. One person wins, one person loses. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it is dumb. I mean, dude, it tears families apart, friends, lifelong friends.
Right.
Dude, it's just like, what are we doing? Like, it's,
I mean, that would never happen between me personally. Like you said, I'm on the same page as you. Like, I would never go and be like, oh, you voted for Kamala, done. Like, that's just ridiculous to me, childish to me. I think if,
Jahmyr Gibbs played for the Packers, maybe I'll follow him. You know, and I'm not going to follow my friends who, are voting for someone else. Like, that's just ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you agree with that. But here we have a few more things to wrap up for the show. But this one here, we got to talk about the fight of the century. I feel like Friday night, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's cheeks out. He's getting the interview by his son, and they go, "Good luck tonight, Dad." And he go, "How are you gonna do?" "Vicious win." And he walks away and his ass cheeks are out, and I started dying. I was like, no way that we just saw Mike Tyson's ass on live TV, a 58-year-old man. I cannot believe it. But I mean, I feel like we got robbed. I really thought that it was going to be a much better fight. I thought to myself, Jake, I was like, no, it can't be like this. Like Jake Paul is going to knock him out. He's going to win this fight. I even bet money on it through Hard Rock here. You live in Maryland, so gambling is legal there as well. But when you sit there and we all got fooled. We all got fooled. It was the Mayweather Logan Paul show all over again. It was an exhibition feel. It went the distance. And you know what, though? I will say this, respect to Jake Paul, though, for not knocking Tyson out, because he really could have cleaned his clock there in the third or fourth round if he wanted to. And you can disagree with me if you want, but just from what I saw, it looked like Tyson's legs were given out. He looked like an old man. He literally looked like a washed rag that has been through the laundry. Through the laundry cycle about 50,000 times. And it's like the laundry machine's like, you can't put me in here anymore. I've been in here enough.
I mean, I only watched highlights of it. I didn't even watch the fight because I kind of knew it was going to be like this.
You didn't miss anything.
I didn't care to see it. All my buddies were like, hey, like you just said, you didn't miss anything. I kind of expected it to happen and go down like this. You knew Paul was going to win. Tyson's old ass is. I mean, he's a dinosaur, dude. He wasn't gonna knock him out. He wasn't gonna really stand a chance. But like you said, kind of respected Jake Paul, but the same way, like he already knew what he was doing. That guy. Yeah. He's a fit guy, young guy. Like, and you're fighting a 58-year-old. Like, dude, please tell me.
In a situation where you're probably not gonna win that, being a young guy. But it's like, I don't know, man. That fight's just such a toss-up. I heard it was terrible on Netflix.
The streaming was awful. The streaming was awful. Like, I don't know how Netflix is going to be able to figure out what they're going to do for Christmas Day, because you have the Texans and the Ravens, and you have the Steelers and the Chiefs. And if Netflix fucks that up on on streaming services, it is going to be an absolute shit show of a Christmas Day. Like, little kid there watching, he opens up his Christmas and he gets a Christmas presents and he sees a Travis Kelce jersey and he goes, oh my God, I want to watch the Chiefs. And then the streaming just goes blank. It's like it's like you're going to be ruining kids' Christmases. No, but seriously though, Netflix needs to fix that. And I don't know, but I want to hear your opinion on this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy for saying this. I don't think it's a far-fetched statement right now to say Jake Paul is the face of boxing. I really don't. And people are going to say that's crazy, but you just saw that he just put 108 million viewers for that fight. People can say it's Tyson, but every single fight that he's really been a part of, he is sold out, or, and he hasn't fought big names, but he has the name now. Like, people are going to either want to watch him for his downfall, or they're on his side because he's the problem child. But yes, I understand you have Gervonta Tank Davis, you have Canelo Alvarez, those names there, and there's other names as well. I'm not huge into the boxing space like that. From what I've seen from a distance, Jake Paul knows how to sell. He knows how to market. Everybody's going to want to watch Jake Paul, and he knows exactly what he's doing, and people can hate on him all they want. And sometimes your haters are your motivators, and sometimes the people that hate you are the ones that can fuel you. And the kid's doing something right, because if he's selling out arenas and he's getting all these A-list celebrities to come watch him, and they can say it's for Tyson. I think Jake Paul, if he's not the face of boxing, he's well on his way, and people can hate on him for, he's not fighting all these big fighters. Yeah, I get it's a manly thing. It's a respect thing. And it's like, I'm not fighting all these guys. he's laughing all the way to the bank when you think about it. Like if you ask somebody, Terrence Crawford is another name in boxing. Who's Terrence Crawford? I don't know. Who's Jake Paul? Oh, he's that YouTube guy that turned boxing, and now he just fought Mike Tyson. He just sold over. He just had 108 million viewers. People watch him. Is it a crazy thing to say?
I mean, I don't think it's a crazy thing to say. I'm not the biggest boxing guy either. Like I could honestly care less.
But Jake Paul, he also, like you just said, the YouTube thing. I mean, he's bringing in so many people that, whether hate him and think he's a piece of shit, which maybe he is. Maybe he'd be the worst guy on the planet. I don't know him like that. I've never had a conversation with him. I can't say. Or maybe, he's got loyal fans. But regardless, even your point, he's making money. He's bringing in money. And everyone knows him now. I mean, I was scrolling on Twitter, and it's all about how hot his girlfriend is and how much money he's making and, how... just all the views and everything, and then you got Netflix shit the bed. But anyways, it's like Jake Paul, everything, and so I mean, it's like why not? I don't know about face of boxing. That's not my forte, so I couldn't make that claim and back it up. But he's definitely changing boxing, and obviously has made a name for himself, and it's bringing in all that money and.
I don't know, man. Like I said, I didn't really care about the fight. I kind of figured it was going to be one of these, like, they're going to milk every ounce of these guys out and, drag it out. And it was going to be a money thing and all the viewership and Netflix being a part of it. It's like, it was going to be big. And so I just was kind of like, I'll see what happens later. And like you said, I didn't miss much. So it's like.
Just for this reference here, too, it's the most streamed global sporting event ever. And Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano, that was the controversial fight at the end there because Amanda Serrano lost there. It was a bloodbath of a fight. That women's fight is the most watched professional women's sports event in U.S. history. So
I mean, is that surprising though?
It is in the aspect of like because you've had the WNBA, you had the Caitlin Clark show the past year in women's basketball in college and the WNBA, but in reality, no, it's not. But still, to think about like that many. But just going back to Tyson and Paul, 108 million viewers in that. Now I know Netflix is very accessible, and it's either $6.99 or $10.99 or $15, whatever. Yeah. But still, when you sit there and
crazy.
You think about that, that's a lot of people.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of money.
And that's a lot of money as well. Paul cashed in with 40 million, and Tyson was at 20 million. So, and also too, another thing, hats off to Jake for. Even, I know it was like, oh, well, beating up on an old man. He just put money in Mike Tyson's retirement fund. He just literally gave him $20 million for them to go the distance. And the fight was 2-minute rounds.
Yeah. And that was one of the things I saw too, was just like what he was getting out of it. Even though he lost and, it wasn't prime
him fighting, but it was like, he's still making, you said 20 million, like 20 million to go stand up there and last a couple rounds. Like, come on, dude.
I mean, and the thing too, going back to the boxing thing, like a lot of these boxers want to fight Jake Paul now. I don't think they realize how big Jake Paul is, like body wise. I'm not talking about popularity wise. He's a big mother trucker, dude. He is not a little guy. So if these guys would want to fight him, he would have to cut his weight down way, way down, which I don't think he would. So, I mean, there's some other names out there. Like, I mean, I know they asked him if he would what the hell is his name? Ari something. His last name, I can't remember his name now. He's the boxing guy. Ari Helwani, that's his name. Ari Helwani asked Jake. He's like, oh well, what about Canelo Alvarez, the big?
Oh, I heard about that. Yep.
Yeah, the big Mexican boxer. He's pound for pound, he's one of the best of all time for sure. He's sitting up there, and they're like, well, what about Canelo? And then Jake goes, well, Canelo needs me for a payday. Now I wouldn't say that, but Jake and Canelo wouldn't be fair. Everyone's like, oh well, Canelo would kick his ass, but would he really though? Because look at the size difference. I know you're not big into boxing like that, but if you look at him in a boxing match with rules, maybe it's different. Maybe I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for that. But did you catch any of the UFC 309 fight with John Jones and Miocic?
I did not, man. Honestly, it's NFL, MLB, NHL hockey. Like I'm not the biggest fighter. I used to watch McGregor a little bit, but like that was it. Yeah. And then once he kind of tanked and became what he did, it made it hard to like get sucked back in. But
I kind of dabble into it here and there, but I mean, of course, I followed into the Tyson Paul fight. I've interviewed some professional fighters and boxers, and I have some friends in that space. But I mean, just watching Jon Jones, man, he's special at 38 years old, and I know he's at the end of his career. And just for him to even come back, he came back last year, and then now he had this fight against Miocic, and Stipe Miocic is a lot older. He's 42 years old. Jon Jones has lost one fight, but man, I mean, it was just cool to see Jon Jones fight, But yeah, let's move on to some college football here. We'll wrap up the show, and that'll be doing it here. Oh, we'll talk NHL too. My apologies, but yeah, I mean, I really want to hear your opinion about the Gators with this season, man, because you and I, we've talked about them. I'm wearing a Florida shirt right now. I don't think anyone really expected us to be, 5-5 at this, this part of the season. We were thinking the wheels were officially off. We were thinking if probably 2-8, 4-6. 3-7. So I want to hear your take about the Gators.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas didn't have any respect for us either. They thought the same. I think those first couple of weeks were hard, especially against Miami. Cam Ward's playing out of his mind, or he was at least. But it was tough. I mean, Graham Mertz, DJ Lagway, I understood kind of riding it out with Graham. But then doing every other drive, it didn't make a lot of sense to me, especially like situational football. I feel like we weren't doing, even with DJ. We had 2 yards to go. Why is DJ not in the game? Makes no sense. But the guys locked in, and they bought in. And, I think keeping Billy makes complete sense. We need to keep Lagway. We need to keep Mizell. Dude, but I mean, they're so talented as they are. And even that Georgia game a couple weekends ago, it's like if DJ stays in that game, we win that game. And no one's telling me otherwise. We win that game. And so the fact that we even have Ole Miss coming up, which Ole Miss is a great team, and, I think we'll probably lose that one. But I think our defense has kind of flipped the script too, and they've been playing pretty well. So it's like, it's a toss-up, man. I will always ride it out for the Gators, just like you. I know that. But I don't think things are as bad as a lot of people on the outside world do. I think that there's a lot of good coming out of this. I think DJ stays, keeps some of those core guys. I've even seen we've been flipping recruits. We flipped that one recruit from Georgia. It's going to keep happening. And, I mean, that Florida-Georgia game, you go as a recruit, it's like Florida should be whooping our ass. And it's unfortunate we didn't win. We'll give them that one. We'll be there next year, hopefully, me and you, at the Florida-Georgia game, watching the Gators win. But, man, I feel really good about this team. I mean, even the rest of the season, I think they'll make a bowl game. We're going to absolutely roll Florida State. They have no chance. So we'll at least be bowl eligible. But, dude, I think that's just a huge step. Even winning 6 games and making it to a bowl game, having kind of that clout in a way, or being like, hey, Florida made a bowl game, better than some teams. So it's like, for everyone to kind of write us off so early, the Gators aren't doing anything. DJ Lagway's great, but he's on a terrible team. And they've turned it around. It's like, what more could you ask for? With Georgia win, I'd be thrilled.
Yep. Right. And no, you're absolutely right too. And you made a lot of great points there, but just kind of going back to what you were saying, I think about DJ Lagway too, is the culture shifted and it changed when he officially took over as quarterback. When I know earlier in the season, he had that, spectacular game against Sanford, and everyone's like, he can't really write home about them. But then, he played really well against Kentucky. He played well against Georgia until he got hurt. He played really well against Tennessee. And obviously, Graham Mertz got hurt there. It sucks for him. And it would have been nice to see Mertz ride it out, but Lagway's the guy, and I did not think we were going to see Lagway this entire season. I was thinking, we're going to see him next year. It's going to be his team. They're going to, what Billy wants to do with Nate, with Mertz, and the clock is officially ticking on Napier at that point of the season. But now Scott Strickland, officially came out in the before the Texas game that week and said, Billy's our guy. And we've had this conversation, and you've heard my take on this, but now putting this into light. Saban has the same feel too. And I think this makes total sense with the Gators. You have to build continuity within your program. We've seen Billy Napier has been able to recruit, but you have to sit there and go, if we want any chance to keep DJ Lagway, if we want any chance to be relevant, and he is our key, kind of like how years ago before the whole Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer stuff, and Urban Meyer, probably can sit here, tell you and, face to face and go, if it wasn't for Tim Tebow, I don't know. Right. So, but going back to, Napier and Lagway, if there's any chance of, being successful and bringing in recruits and getting guys in the transfer portal, Lagway's your guy. So they didn't want to lose Lagway. Lagway wanted to be with Billy Napier. That was how he felt comfortable. but that quarterback coach relationship is so important in football. You've seen with Andy Reid, you've seen with Mahomes, you've seen coordinator with Ben Johnson and Jared Goff. Goff feels comfortable with Ben Johnson. DJ Lagway feels comfortable with Billy Napier. When you have that, it's almost like it's kind of like a newborn with their mom. Like, I feel comfortable. Or it's like a puppy, when they bring the puppy home from the shelter, or they get the puppy from the dog place. Would you buy the puppy?
The breeder,
the puppy feels the breeder. The puppy feels comfortable with its mom. The puppy feels comfortable with the owner. Feels safe. DJ Lagway feels safe with Napier. He wants to be around him. He feels comfortable. So I think that was a big thing there as well. And I think you're going to see a shift in a culture change with the Gators this offseason. I really do. I think they're going to continue to make some home run picks.
Yeah, my buddy on the team, we've talked about. I'm not going to air him out, but. He even said earlier on in the season that there was a culture change, and he's like, hey, it's all different. And so the fact that they have this amount of success, which other teams are going to look down and be like, ha, the Gators think this is success. But from where we were, and we keep, and by the way, the Marco Wilson curse, has it been lifted? I hope it's been lifted.
I think it's been lifted.
Like it's been lifted.
I don't have any shoes around me, but I think it's officially been lifted.
But back to that, it has been a culture change, like you just said.
It has.
And all these great teams, even NFL teams, they all have that culture change, that culture shift. Mm-hmm. And around Lagway, they're only going to build. And like you even said with the recruiting thing, our transfer portal this offseason is going to be huge. And I guarantee the Gators get good guys, top guys. And, it's going to be no surprise. Like, DJ Lagway is a generational talent. And yes, was he thrown in the mix a little early? You could say that, but at the same time, look how he's responded. It's like even the Tennessee game.
Graham goes down, huge blow. Can't imagine what the guys are thinking. And then
we still almost win that game. We have a chance to win that game.
DJ throws that ugly pick there in the game when Mertz was still there, and there was like, that's why we should have started Mertz. And then he goes in the end there and he throws that crazy touchdown. I think it's like third and 17 it was. It was like that seam route or whatever, and then we lose in overtime. But those kind of games, I think really from that point on for the Gators in this season, I think that really shifted the culture change. I really do. We just competed with the Tennessee team in Neyland. They're a top 10 team. They beat Alabama. They're probably going to be in the end there, right there with Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon. They're in the top 10 in that ballpark there. I still think Alabama and Georgia are better than Tennessee. Georgia just beat Tennessee. But, sticking here on the Gators real quick, I think this is going to be a really interesting offseason.
No, I was just going to say, I think if the season started today, it's a whole different team, and we're winning a lot of these games. Even against A&M. I want a shot at them again. Even Miami, I want a shot at them again with this team. They kind of gelled enough. Defense has kind of figured it out. DJ's balling. Like, our run game is there. Our receiving core. Even Trey Wilson goes down, and we're still having success.
It's like he's our top guy that everyone's afraid to lose. And I love Trey. I want him to stay a Gator. But it's like, hey, we have enough pieces here. We have young guys that just need experience, man. But this team, I'm telling you, the next couple of years are going to be
a great storybook.
No, I really think so as well. And you know what? In just one season, a player can change around a program, and it's college football like that. You get the recruits, you get the right guys around him. If that culture, if those players believe in that player or they believe in the team, I know team aspect. I don't think it's a far-fetched statement to say the Gators don't make the college football playoffs next year. And we're at a 12-team playoff now, so it's not 4 anymore, where they could be sitting there, at the top 12 to 14 team of the country next year at some point in the season. Yeah. And it'll be really interesting because, in the offseason, they're so big on preseason rankings, and rankings don't mean anything. Well, if you would have seen with Florida State this year, they were top 10 in preseason rankings. Did that mean anything? Absolutely not. So next year, when the Gators come around and they get their transfer portal guys and they get their recruits, and Lagway comes back, and you've got Billy again, and let's see with Trey Wilson, if he comes back, you're going to get Jaden Baugh back, of course, because he's only a freshman. Run the ball. It's going to be a total different outlook, and it'll be interesting to see. And with the schedule next year, and I think they'll definitely be preseason top 25. The hype next year for the Gators is going to be one for the ages, especially with DJ Lagway. So I'm excited. But the last point I'll make about Billy Napier here too is, everyone was like, oh, they got to fire him. And I was like that as well. We can't manage games, this and that. But the players believe in Billy Napier from what we've seen these past few weeks. The culture has officially changed. And, you have to give him a fair shot next year. Officially, if he wets the bed next year and the Gators finish 6-6 next year, he's gone. But you got to give him one more year officially with the recruits, with his guys. He's got his quarterback now. Let's see how comfortable they are together next year going into it. All that, stuff will go out the window right and left. And you got to give him one more year, and then you can officially judge him because it takes time to build a program.
Yeah. I mean, even Urban Meyer said it on the Netflix show. He was like, Gator fans are not patient fans. They want success right away. And like we've talked about is that firing Billy, okay, you know what? We've been on this roller coaster every couple of years. We're firing our head coach. And it's like, when are we just going to suck it up, kind of endure the pain, be the laughing stock for a little bit? Oh, haha, you beat us, whatever, in the SEC, to where we get our quarterback. We kind of get our whole plan. We build around that quarterback, our defense. We need one of those top defenses again. And, I mean, I think besides some transfer guys we could potentially get, we're not too far off. And I'm not saying we're a great team right now, but we're not too far off from having a team to where we are a great team. And it's like, when are we going to stop just the narrative of, or not even narrative, but
us needing to win right now, and it's going to keep affecting our future to where every couple of years we're still bad. Every couple of years we're still bad. Every couple of years. It's like it's a never-ending
loop, and we're stuck on it. And so I think keeping Billy makes complete sense. Lagway, like you said, feels comfortable, which I also feel like, though, Lagway is a Gator through and through. I know NIL. I get, wanting to play for another team. I get that. He's just never given that vibe. And even, his social media and whatnot, he seems like he loves being in Florida. So I don't necessarily know if we would have lost him, but we definitely lose some of the guys that we can't afford to lose. Excluding him, like even if he decided to stay, it wouldn't matter. We're going to lose a lot of big pieces. But I love keeping Billy. I know we kind of bashed him at times, which a whole lot of Gator fans did, which I think was fair. And he'd probably tell us man to man, look us in the face, like, hey, that's fair. But, we got to trust the process. And we're trusting the process now, and now the process is kind of flipping around. And we're kind of seeing the upside of that. So it's only a matter of time, man. I think the Gators will be back, no doubt in my mind. We'll be winning the college football playoff in a couple of years, or for a couple of years, it'll be us on top, and teams aren't going to worry about us. But it's only a matter of time, man. History repeats itself. We got that Tebow vibe here with Lagway. Billy, I wouldn't call Billy an Urban Meyer, but let's see what he's got, man. Let's see what he's got. Let's give him a chance.
Let's stay under the radar. But yeah, no, I'm like I said, I'm excited about DJ Lagway out of Willis, Texas. I mean, when I saw him and he threw that 7 touchdowns and a half last year, I was like, the Gatorade Player of the Year. I mean, this is the guy. Like, can the Gators manage him correctly? I was just excited as soon as I heard about it. I was like, oh my God, the Gators just got DJ Lagway, because it was National Signing Day last year, and I was like, well, they're saying there's rumors and reports that are rumbling that his dad wants him to sign with USC, and he wants, to be with Lincoln Riley. And I was like, no, DJ wants to be a Gator. Let's get all that stuff out the window. This is the guy that you can build your program around. And
two just looks good on him. Two just looks good on him. He fits in orange and blue. Like
he just looks good in orange
colors,
and blue.
Man.
Yeah,
he's not red and black. He doesn't look like he's gonna get a DUI anytime soon.
He's not allowed to
bail shipping.
He's not allowed to play baseball. He's not allowed to play baseball. But I want to ask you, sticking here on college football, who's your Heisman so far?
Oh man,
you got. Let's go with you first, because I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure.
I'm not sold. To begin the season, I was kind of high on Quinn Ewers, and then he's kind of sloped off.
Yeah, my pick before the season started was Carson Beck, but that completely went out the window.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking Carson Beck, but even Gabrielson from Oregon, dude, he's been playing pretty good.
Dylan Gabriel, they're the number 1 team in the country.
Gabriel, not Gabrielson.
I'll give you the Heisman's.
I'll give you the guys, the list.
Okay, yeah,
no order. You got Ashton Genty out of Boise State, of course. You got Travis Hunter out of Colorado, of course. You got Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado as well. You have Cam Ward out of Miami. You have Dylan Gabriel. Really, those 5 right there: Gabriel, Ward, Hunter, Genty, and if you want to throw Shedeur Sanders in there. So out of those 5, who's your Heisman?
Oh man, I love the back from Boise State. What's his last name?
Ashton Genty.
I love him, man. But at the same time, he's playing for Boise State. He's not at one of these top schools. If he's at an Oregon or even at Georgia, even LSU, Texas, any of these kind of bigger schools, and he's playing against good talent, I think him for sure. Travis Hunter's also an absolute monster. I'm not sold on Shedeur. I think he's really good. I'm just not very sold on him.
But dude, Travis Hunter, the fact that he can play both sides of the ball,
Like,
if we're
really talking about like Heisman Trophy winner,
Cam Ward.
But yeah, I was gonna say Cam Ward, dude. He
from the Gator game from week 1 in the swamp,
it was crazy to see how calm and just like poised he was,
and it looks like he's just like running around doing nothing. Like he has no care. He's very calm, just like taking care of and making the right reads, making the right decisions. You know, holding on to the football when he needs to, picking up the extra 3, 4, 5 yards, whatever it is. I mean, it's kind of a toss-up, man. Like, I see Oregon doing their thing, and it's like, how can you not, respect him? But at the same time, Cam Ward would be an acceptable pick for me.
If you were to pick, it'd be Cam Ward.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I know that it's a quarterback heavy award, but with the last running back to win Heisman was Mark Ingram. I love Ashton Genty, what he's done all year long, but from what I saw earlier in the year, I thought he was potentially going to break Barry Sanders, records and stuff. But if he doesn't do that, I know they're going to be in the College Football Playoff, but they really haven't played anybody.
Yeah,
I can't give it to Genty. I really wanted to. A few weeks ago, I was kind of teetering back and forth. Is Travis Hunter going to win it? I really think at this point, I know, Georgia Tech beat Miami, but what Cam Ward has done for the Miami program as a whole, I think Miami's overrated as a whole because their defense isn't that good. But Cam Ward's a special player. For him to just even come back out of Washington State, he declared for the draft and he came back. And the whole, is he going to go to FSU? Is he going to go to Ohio State? What's he going to do after leaving Washington State? I think you got to give it to Cam Ward really because he's turned the Miami program around just like that. They had one loss to Georgia Tech, but he is their entire team. Their offense is good, but he makes their entire team.
Yeah,
he's their generational, life saving. I mean, without him, Miami is back to being nothing. And
Miami's
A
irrelevant.
lot of firings and irrelevant.
So I got to go with Cam Ward. I think that's my pick. I think he deserves to win Heisman. Earlier in the year, I didn't think he was. Actually, before the season started, I had Carson Beck, but I've got to go with Cam Ward to win the Heisman. I think he deserves it. From turning around Miami's program to where they were last year to where they are now. They're number 8 in the college football rankings now, and Miami can they compete with an Alabama, a Georgia, an Ohio State? I personally don't think so, but you got to have to. Some people say, well, you got to give him a shot because they have Cam Ward. He can compete with a Milroe. He can compete with a Will Howard. He can compete with a Dylan Gabriel. Texas, is Miami in that category? If their defense can maybe step up a little bit and not give up 30, 40 points a game, then yes, you have to say Miami would be up there. But yeah, I'd have to go with Cam Ward as well. So we both agree. I love Travis Hunter, but I've done my research. I've seen Rod Woodson. He played both sides of the ball. Actually, Champ Bailey did a little bit at Georgia. He played receiver and corner as well. So everyone's like, oh, we've never seen a player like this before. It's
I wouldn't say it. Yeah, I disagree with that. I've never seen a player like this before. But at the same time, I mean, he's an absolute monster.
It's special. But he is the favorite to win the Heisman. I honestly think we're both going to eat our crow. We want Ward to win. We think Ward should be the Heisman, but I think they're going to give it to Travis Hunter because
I wouldn't be upset about
that in a very long time. I wouldn't be either. It'd be really cool. It's cool to see. But I think the college football college football Heisman committee will give it to Cam Ward. But let's wrap up with the NHL. The Capitals with Ovechkin. I did not expect this all year long. I know I see some Washington Capitals stuff in the background. That 2018 championship we won. 2018. Yes,
2018.
18 it
June
was.
7,
Yes.
2018,
Against the Vegas Golden Knights. We won 4-1, right?
Wasn't
it 4-1 we won?
No.
Yeah. So they won game 1 in Vegas. There was a no call cross check on John Carlson. I tell this to everyone. On the free throw, Vegas ends up scoring. I was actually at a bar with my friends watching this game. There's a Vegas fan there. She was so nasty. I was just like, hey, like, you weren't a team a year ago. Like, let's pump the brakes here. Like, watch, you're not going to win another game. Sure enough, the boys came through, didn't win another game, won the Stanley Cup. It was
4-1. Yep. That was the year Kuznetsov did against the Penguins.
The bird.
Yeah, the bird in the what was it? Overtime. No,
It was
no,
game 7.
It was a breakout, right?
Yeah, breakaway goal.
You came right through the 5-hole, scored against the Penguins, the Demons, all that pressure lifted off.
And we beat we beat the Lightning in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Game 7.
Yep, in Game 7 we beat them.
In Game 7 in Tampa.
In Tampa, yep.
Yep. I remember that. Yeah, that's insane. But yeah, man, I mean, I did not think Alex Ovechkin was going to be. Alex Ovechkin's my favorite hockey player of all time. I actually have his jersey in my closet. It's where I chose number 8 in hockey. I did not expect Ovechkin to break Gretzky's record this year.
Yeah, he's 29. I would say 26 or 26. Yeah, 26 away.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, he's been playing awesome. I mean, the Capitals as a whole have been playing awesome. There's been.
I didn't. Did you expect this? I didn't. I did not.
I expected us to be middle of the pack or kind of top. Not top of the pack, but we were going to be in the top portion of the pack. That's what I was expecting. But I mean, the young guys have stepped up. Connor McMichael's played out of his mind. He's the team MVP by far. I don't care about the Ovechkin thing. He's the team MVP.
Yeah.
But dude, Ovi breaking that record. I know. I work in Capital One. I work for the team, so I'm like, there's a lot of hype, and I know those guys want to get it out of the way and like want to just focus on hockey. So him breaking the record is going to be awesome. I know he's going to do it. Like,
I mean, it just makes sense as long as he's healthy and he's going
to work through whatever injury he's got right now. But dude, it is insane. Like the hype around DC sports right now is at an all-time high. Even with the Commanders, I know we're past football, but it's like them doing so well. Then you got the Capitals over here just crushing it. Dude, the team's exciting, man. It's fun to be a part of, fun to be around, fun to watch all the time. It's great.
I did not expect I just didn't expect Ovechkin to do this year. I was thinking like he'll because last year he kind of turned it on late, but I was like, hey, he'll probably score like 15, 20 goals. I didn't expect him to be leading the NHL in goals this year.
Yeah. I mean, and then behind him is Connor McMichael. It's
they've been the Capitals have just been a secret team. I feel like they just kind of crept right up. And I mean, the Rangers we knew were going to be good. The Avalanche were kind of slipping early because they had some injuries, but now they're starting to turn it on.
Well,
the Hurricanes are good. Winnipeg is like
right
16-1 or something. They're insane.
They're number 1 in the league, and we're right behind them at 2. So I think
depending on a couple games, maybe tonight we're still like second place, first in the East.
It's unreal. Like just the fact, even like you said, the hopes on this team were not that high. And then they've blown every expectation.
Let me ask you this: do you think when Alex Ovechkin breaks the all-time goal record by Gretzky this year, will he retire after this year?
I don't think so. So that's a hot take, but I think he's going to finish out his contract. And then just from like what I've seen on social media and everything else, I think he's going to go play his last hockey like in the KHL, like overseas in Russia.
Yep, Russia.
But I mean, I think
even this year, before this season, he had spoke with his trainer. Apparently, it's somewhere on social media, and they revamped the whole thing. So his whole training, his whole regime, it's all different. And so I think if he's feeling this good and he can play another season, why not? Especially when you can add to that goal mark, and it's never going to be broken again. I mean, seeing him do this is just outrageous, and it's like I don't think anyone's ever going to do it again, or at least in our lifetime. There might be a guy eventually with hockey getting, faster and faster and, more goals, but
he's the great A. He's the great A. He's about to become the greatest goal scorer ever. And, hats off to Gretzky because he was like, I want him to break it. I think it's even cooler to see. And you get to see a lot of respect. You get to see Gretzky, who's still alive, and he sits there in the broadcast, and he's like, it's going to be cool to see him break it. So I said before he got hurt, I think they said it was going to be like early February, mid-February, kind of somewhere in there.
I think there was hope for like beginning of January if he stayed on track. But the cool thing about Gretzky too is I don't know if you know, but I think Ovi wants one of Gretzky's sticks from his collection because Ovi's a collector himself. He's got all these sticks. He's got outrageous memorabilia. And I think Gretzky said you'll get this stick when you break the record. And so I know there's like a lot of respect for both of them, and it's a mutual respect. But I think that would be pretty cool for Ovi just to break the record, and then also have like Gretzky kind of pass the torch. I think it's gonna be, dude. I mean, DC is gonna be a madhouse. Those tickets are gonna be outrageous.
I know.
I know if he's on the road and getting close to breaking it, I might have to make a trip and go to the game. But I mean, even then, I'm going to be paying more than Stanley Cup final tickets. It's going to be outrageous.
It's going to be insane. I mean, any sort of milestone in sports history, like you see when we're alive for it, it's just remarkable to see. I mean, the Chiefs could potentially be the first team to three-peat this year. I know you don't want that to happen. You had LeBron broke the all-time NBA scoring record. I mean, there's just been, the sports milestones that we've seen. What else is Brady is the all-time passing leader. He's the all-time
and it's
touchdowns.
all guys that we grew up watching. And
right.
So it's like really cool to see them kind of here where we're here now, and they're kind of finishing and kind of leaving their stamp on the sport. Not that they haven't already.
Right.
But it's like, hey, there's one more thing we're gonna give you guys. And dude,
we got to see. Cool. We got to see Caitlin Clark break the men's and women's all-time college basketball women's basketball record, or college basketball record between, it was Pistol Pete Maravich, and she broke that. So that was cool to see. So we didn't grow up with her, but to see that was really cool. I mean, there's just been a lot
cool
of
watching her, seeing her highlights, and you want the best for her. You want her to keep doing it. It's just, dude. The thing is, like, I don't know how people don't like sports. It's like, this is what sports are all about. Like, how can you not be romantic or like feel that? No, but it's serious. Like, even when people say like,
baseball, like, how can you not be romantic about baseball? It's like, even back to, this is kind of a stretch point and will hurt you a little bit, but dude, Freddie Freeman, like that grand slam, it's like, I know it sucks for you. I know it sucks for you, but it's just like, dude, like, that is like the coolest moment. It's what everyone dreams of. And so Ovi, as a kid, I'm sure, he was like, oh, I'm going to be the next Gretzky, or, saying it in Russian to his pops, but it's like now he's legitimately getting that. It's just, dude, it's so unreal.
It's unreal to think about. But just to wrap up here, a few fun questions for you. Are boneless wings just chicken nuggets in disguise?
That's a hot take. I am a boneless wing guy. I do eat wings too, so don't shit on me too much. But, nothing like a little boneless nugget. No, I think they're nuggets in disguise. I'll be honest.
I think so too. I think boneless wings 100% are chicken nuggets in disguise. They feel like they're like the exact same thing. Like, how can you not sit there? Is mayonnaise the most overrated or underrated condiment?
I'd say overrated. I don't like mayonnaise.
I think mayonnaise is the worst. Yeah. Do you think mayonnaise is underrated or overrated as a condiment?
By far overrated. I mean, no question. I think mayonnaise is just terrible. And it's like, why would, shout out Will Levis, putting it in his coffee? Like, you're an absolute freak. We know that already. You went to Kentucky, but like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Overrated for sure.
I think mayonnaise is the worst condiment. Should the MLB introduce a salary cap to make sport more competitive?
Yes. I'm only saying that because I'm a Nationals fan as well, and without Soto, cheap owners, we won't pay guys, and that's why we're going to be pretty bad for a while until some of these young guys kind of develop. But yes, I believe they should. Let's make it a little more fair here.
Give me your hottest sports take.
Hottest sports take? Oh my gosh.
Hottest sports take, man. That's a tough one. Besides Jared Goff winning MVP, I think that's kind of a hot take after the game in Houston.
Gotta have one.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to think.
I want something better than that.
Maybe like an all-time one where you yap to your buddies about, and you're just like, you have this one vault, and you
it's a hot sports take, I guess, depending on the crowd here. But I think Lamar Jackson will never win a Super Bowl,
and that would be his biggest downfall. I think he's one of the quarterbacks, one of the most deserving quarterbacks. He's a great dude. He's a great player. I just think the Ravens are going to constantly shit the bed, and I don't see him winning a Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. All right. Last part for you. Give me your Lions Mount Rushmore.
Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson. I'm putting Dan Campbell on there too. I know he played there, but as a coach, he's there.
Dan Campbell already?
He's changed the culture here.
What do we need? Two more guys.
I'm putting Sheila Ford on there too, and the reason I'm saying that is because she came in and changed the culture here.
What about Matthew Stafford?
And I was gonna leave him last. He's the fifth one, right? There's five. Aren't there five on there?
Four.
So Matthew Stafford's gonna go on there too for what he did in Detroit. Like that's the top five. But I'm putting Dan Campbell on there. I'm putting Sheila. There's five, I thought.
Now Mount Rushmore's 4, I thought.
Okay, so I'm taking Dan Campbell off then. I'm putting Sheila Ford there for what she's doing now. And then I'm putting Matthew Stafford at 4.
Because it's Mount Rushmore is Abe Lincoln, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Roosevelt.
Okay, so then
we'll restart that then. Lions, Mount.
Yeah, it's George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, those are the 4.
Okay, so then we're gonna restart. So we'll restart that. My Lions, Mount Rushmore.
That's getting
Barry Sanders.
That first part's getting clipped. Don't worry.
Barry Sanders, Megatron. We're throwing Sheila Ford up there for what she's doing right now, changing the culture, and then we got to throw the boy Matthew Stafford up there.
Yeah, so Dan Campbell does
That's
not
4.
make your
Dan
Mount
Campbell
Rushmore.
does not make the list.
Okay. All right. I'll give you my Patriots Mount Rushmore.
Let's do it.
Tom Brady, of course.
Of course.
Gronkowski, of course. I've got to go. Oh my gosh, you got to go like defensive player like back then. You got to go like fuck. Patriots fans are going to probably be pissed at me for this one. All right. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Bill Belichick, of course.
I was going to say, you're not going to throw Bill on there?
Well, yeah. No, I was. I don't know if we were doing coaches or not. And then I got to go like a defensive player. I got to go like a Ty Law, a Teddy Bruschi, a Willie McGinnis.
I
probably got to go. I got to go Bruschi.
Yeah.
So my Patriots Mount Rushmore is Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Bill Belichick, and Teddy Bruschi.
No Wes Walker?
Absolutely not. Not over Edelman.
I'm trolling.
I was gonna say. All right, last one here. Give me your Gators Mount Rushmore.
Oh man.
I feel like this is an easy one.
Steve Spurrier, Tim Tebow,
Urban Meyer. Oh man.
Oh man.
Dude, the last one is so hard for me.
Is it though?
Emmitt Smith?
Or Danny Werfel?
No, I think I'd rather have Emmitt on there, to be honest.
But I think it's too. With Mount Rushmore, we go coaches. But if we weren't doing coaches, you would go Tim Tebow. You go Tebow. You would go Spurrier. You would go Emmitt Smith, and then you would. I mean, Werfel won a Heisman, so what you'd have to. We've had so many good players in the past.
Even if you want to think long term, Brandon Spikes was an absolute legend for us. Percy Harvin was. Ahmad Black.
Major Wright's getting his jersey retired.
Right. I was going to say
getting
Major
his ceremony
Wright.
this Saturday. Percy Harvin.
I mean, even Fred Taylor.
Joe Hayden.
He was a great Gator.
Fred Taylor. Joe Hayden.
Joe Hayden, absolutely. Aaron Hernandez, even though rest in peace, he was
a beast for us.
Yeah, man. I mean, that makes it tough.
Top 5 Gators of all time.
Spurrier, Danny, Tebow, Emmitt.
Spikes. Oh, whoa, Jack Youngblood.
Yeah. No, but oh man, that one's hard. I'll give it to Brandon, man. I need to show some respect to the boy. He's a Patriot as well for you. But dude, that's
yeah.
Just
But
a
some
tough
of
question.
some of the legends.
Greats.
Some of the legends, though, man. You got Jack Youngblood. Let's see what online
even
comes with
even Curse, man. Even Curse.
That's what I said, Jermaine. That's what I said.
That's what I said.
That's what I said. Yeah, I said him. He's from here. He's from South Florida.
Really?
Excuse me, Southwest Florida. Yeah, here it is. I guess Wilbur Marshall. That was way before our time.
Yeah,
here it is. Let's see what they got here. They have. Let's go. Wow, they have Kyle Pitts at 20. Yeah, I mean, Javon Curse. Wow, he's way back there. Okay, let's see. We got Reggie Nelson was another one. Joe Hayden, Rex Grossman. I don't know who Wes Chandler was. That wasn't Jack Youngblood. They have at 9. Lomas Brown, offensive line. Spurrier at 7. Emmitt Smith at 6. Pouncey. Yeah, I was gonna say that makes sense. Wilbur Marshall. I'm not familiar with him. Danny Werfel, Percy Harvin 2, and Tebow 1.
I was gonna say, dude,
Percy's got to make top 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Percy was one of the most electric college football players ever.
Absolutely, man. I mean, even him leaving early, that hurt so much. As a Gator fan, man, being a little kid, looking up to him, and it was like, "Where's Percy?" And he wasn't there. That sucked. But
I think that's a good top 5.
Mercy Percy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
He played where? Minnesota and
Buffalo.
I
Was
don't
it?
think. Did he play Buffalo? I know
Percy
he played in
Harvin.
Minnesota, and I'm not sure where else, man.
Yes, he did. He played for the Bills
Oh,
too, and the
Bills,
Seahawks. Yeah, he was on that.
Oh, the
He was
Seahawks,
on
yep.
that Super Bowl team. He was on that
Yep.
Seahawks Super Bowl team. Yeah, so it was the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Jets, and the Bills. I knew it was the.
I was
I knew it
gonna
was the
say,
Bills.
I thought it was the Jets too, but I wasn't too sure.
Yeah, so he was on the Vikings, the Jets, the Bills, and the Seahawks.
Gator great. Gator made.
He lasted for 7 years, man. He was just one of the most dynamic college football players ever.
Oh, we know. We remember.
Oh,
I remember.
Yeah. But man, hey, it was so great to have you on the show. But before we wrap up, we gotta, let the subscribers and the followers know for the support, for thanking them. We just had 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. I really appreciate all you guys for subscribing to the podcast on YouTube. The Inquisitive Mamba Podcast on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to that. Apple Podcast and Spotify, the Inquisitive Mamba Podcast as well. I appreciate all the support. 1,000 subscribers officially. We hit our milestone that we set out to when we first started. It was a pleasure to have Jake Murphy on the show. He works for the Capitals. He's got a lot of hot takes in the bag as well. He will definitely be back on the podcast. It's a cool story how we met. We bumped into each other in downtown. Two Gator guys just yapping away, yelling about Billy Napier and the Gators and, DJ Lagway, are we going to see him this season? Are we going to see him this season? He is so high on his Lions, if they're going to win the Super Bowl or not this year. Are the Lions the best team in the NFL? It remains to be seen. A good Thanksgiving matchup next week against the Bears. I actually have a buddy going to that as well. But episode 127, guys, we really appreciate it. And Jake, make sure you say goodbyes. And
yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate being here. Congrats on 1,000. That's huge, man. Best podcast. Take a listen right here. They know where to find you. They already know you're the best. But thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. It's always good seeing you and talking to you.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll definitely get you back on the show here soon. And guys, always remember, keep rolling, stay positive. We got some good football coming up this weekend. We got Indiana and Ohio State here, a good Big Ten matchup. Ryan Day versus Signetti. Can Indiana pull off the upset? They are huge underdogs this weekend. Can Florida beat Ole Miss in the Swamp, a noon game? Wow, if that'll be a massive one.
I mean, don't make money.
The newspapers will be flashing and flying in Gainesville if the Gators can pull it off. However, it was a great episode. We had some technical difficulties, but doesn't matter. We got a lot covered, and we will see you guys next week.
Peace.